Hi everybody, greetings from Mindanao, Philippines, southwestern parts of the Philippines. I'm sorry that I can't be there to present this to you in person and answer all your questions and everything, but circumstances are what they are, and I hope you appreciate that this is not the most, this is not the easiest thing I've done ever. This is like the third take I have done, so I'm just going to jump right into it. I wanted to do my conflict map, or I did the PowerPoint basically showing my evolution through conflict analysis and resolution, or my time at SCAR, and how I formulated my current concept and understanding of the discipline. So, like everything, it starts at the beginning in 501 with learning how to Spitzer-O, learning the basic terms and terminology, and getting a handle for what the discipline is, and being able to understand the basic dynamics of how SCAR looks at a conflict, or conflict holistically. And I moved on to, or I took reflective practice at the same time. This is when I got the intro to like the practice side of it. I feel like 501 was really focused on understanding the concepts of how we look at the conflict, and this was a more focused look at a portion of the practice, learning what facilitation, mediation, negotiation, what exactly that is, and how it's conducted. And the reflective practice part was learning about the cognitive structures and processes that go on in your head as you're sitting in the chair of the facilitator, of the mediator, and you're doing all the things we've heard about for so long, reframing arguments and keeping dialogue focused, and not so much owning the process as just owning the evolution of the process as it focuses towards actual resolution. That was a great course. Really got me out of my shell. I think it did a lot of people, made some good friends. Some of you in the room, you know who you are. And then on to peace building. I really like this because this is the type of thing that I've always tried to be focused on, or keep in the back of my mind no matter what I'm doing in SCAR. This is the type of focus that I want to have, that I see the discipline just being more of value to me, and the type of things I want to be involved in. You've got the concepts on the slide there. And I like the idea of using the conflict discipline in a practical sense, more focused on transnational and international conflicts, civil wars, development in a conflict or a post-conflict reconstruction setting, and trying to maintain conflict sensitivity, I suppose, and an understanding of the conflict dynamics as you operate in these areas to do small-scale development projects, infrastructure strengthening, security and sector reform. Anything you do in a conflict setting, it has effects. And this was my introduction to understanding that through the conflict lens. Then I looked we had comparative peace processes. I think this was it was a comparative peace processes in civil wars. So it was really focused on a lot of different civil wars. I mean, when it says key sources, we read too much. We really read a lot. I think we read like a book and multiple articles a week in that class. It was a pretty heavy reading burden, but we looked at a lot of different things, and it really felt critical. It really felt like a critical look at a lot of the UN actions in the past 20, 30 years in a lot of different conflict settings, and really look at, I think, some of the failures. I think one of the things we looked at, the thing that I really remember looking at was Bosnia as an example, and how the Dayton Peace Accord at the time was hailed as a big victory because it got the Serbs and the Croats and the Bosniaks to stop fighting. But in the end, 20 years later, there hasn't been any real resurgence of violence. But all the economic and entity lines within the country are drawn along the battlefield lines. at the end of the violence, and not much was done afterwards to address the effects, much less the cause of the conflict. And now the country is locked in economic stagnation, political polarization, deeply drawn and rooted ethnic lines that have just been festering, wounds that have been festering for over 20 years. And while we haven't really seen anything yet, I think it is a breeding ground for, if you remember, the negative violence, or the negative peace, to slip right back into an actual resurgence of actual violence once again, just rebooting the old conflict cycle, and the poorly executed and poorly I want to say timed, or the lack of follow through for the Dayton Peace Accord is probably the direct driver of that. That's just one example of many that we looked at, and I think that kind of encapsulates the nature of the course. We also had philosophy and methods. This was research, philosophy and methods. So this was, looking at the qualitative, quantitative, everything, research methods, and we had to develop our research proposal. I learned a lot. I really got an up close and personal look at the research methods that we should be familiar with, but are also solidified in my person. I don't want to be a researcher. Some people love this stuff. Some people really do, and it's just not my interest in the discipline. But it was a necessary element to me to understand the discipline and what goes on, and focus me more, I suppose, as a holistic student of the discipline. Moving on to theories. I think this was actually philosophy and method. That's what this was. This was theories and philosophy of conflict analysis and resolution. We took a lot of the basic theories and things that we looked at in 501 and expanded on them. Took a much more in-depth look at a lot of different things you see on the slide right there, and really tried to talk them out. I mean, it was a lot of really intense class discussion, and sometimes it seemed like we were kind of talking in loops, talking about all these different theories, and it seems like everything's rooted in psychology and international relations theory, but it's all through the conflict lens, of course. And we're trying to take some of these really kind of enigmatic theoretical devices and try to put them into give realistic examples to help us understand all these things, and understand that they're not just products in and of themselves. They're always connected to a lot of other things, and there's always ways to argue what you see. You really talked in a lot of circles in that class, but I did get a much stronger understanding of these theories that are the basis and foundation for everything that discipline does. So I did appreciate it, even though I struggled with it. Development and conflicts is the next one that I took, and it was I honestly expected a little more from the class. I thought it would be a lot more like the peace building course that we did, focusing on practical interventions in a conflict setting. Where it fell short in some ways, I think a lot of the readings and things did give me a stronger grasp on concepts that were slowly fermenting in my mind as I progressed through the discipline. But one thing that this and my summer study abroad that I took, that I'll talk about here in a minute, one of the things I've really come to value and understand is the necessity of the analysis part of our field. Understanding that any intervention that we do, especially in a conflict setting, is going to have effects, positive and negative. And we have to design those interventions properly based on the context that we're looking to engage in. And in order to do no harm, if we don't do that, if we don't have a solid understanding of the ground that we're trying to work in, we can make things much worse, or have no effect at all, and then just waste time and resources, and that's almost just as bad. And we looked at a lot of the stuff coming out of USAID and the Office of Conflict Management and Mitigation, or is it Mitigation and Management? I get the M's mixed up. I think that was one of the things that I clued into in the course is we're looking at a lot of things that are coming out of from the discipline, but not necessarily from SCAR or focused at SCAR. Products of USAID, DFID, Asia Foundation, AusAid, all these different government agencies and development agencies around the world are starting to grab on the